from the studios of the Bakersfield, California, it's time to open up with real people, real talk about real stuff. And now, a special welcome to our friends throughout California, across the nation, and around the world to this week's edition of Open Up.
Good morning and welcome to Open Up. I'm Tina Miller.
And I'm Don Clark, your favorite pair on the air. Glad to be with you today. A little shout out to folks over in Sweden, who we know are watching us. Very glad to have you on board, and 19 other countries out there. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Don, we talked about getting older but not growing old last week.
Last week, we really had a fascinating conversation with a specialist in senior living. And it was about, and I think it applies to all of us, but it was about growing older, which is a natural process for all of us, but not growing old.
Right.
And not trying to hang on to youth, not trying to pretend we're an age we're not, but really maintaining a vitality, a love of life. And so we've brought him back. And here he is, John Garner, in his Hawaiian French shirt. Love it, John.
There you go.
Being intentional about it, John.
There you go.
John, it was such a fascinating conversation last week. Growing older, but not getting old. And let's just recap that for those who may have missed last week's show, and then we'll move on from there because we knew we had other things to explore.
Well, actually,
close to the mic, or pull the mic close to you, or you go close to the mic.
A little more intimate experience.
Yeah, there you go, right up on.
Well, I actually just sent a birthday greeting to one of my best friends, and I sent him my favorite birthday greeting, and that is, "May you die young."
Ooh.
At an old age. At an old age. At an old age.
How neat.
And so I mean, we can't keep young. We really can't stay young forever. We're all given the wonderful gift of life, but also the promise that we're probably not going to exit this world without the end experience of life, and that is death. But as long as we're living, and as long as we're breathing,
yes,
we want to live to the highest extent as possible. I think that I've heard one gentleman say, "As long as I'm breathing, I want to live."
Yes,
and I think that's the element to see what it is, what we're talking about, and that is how can we live this season of our life with the greatest significance that is available to us.
If I may insert a comment here, John, I invited a very special person to be with us on this show. She couldn't come this show. She'll be here later in the month, but we're talking about Dolores Huerta. And here's the woman who was the co-worker, really the co-equal with Cesar Chavez in the work of the United Farm Workers Union to have better working conditions for our field farm laborers out there. And here she is, 85 now.
Oh, wow.
She can just dance up a storm. She just received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor. She's now the focus of a program at the Smithsonian Institute, and she's just going full blast. So, I mean, right in our midst is a woman who really models exactly what you're talking about.
Isn't that amazing? But it is never. As we were saying last week, we said that it's good to get older because the alternative is that you're not getting and you're dying. It's good to get older, but it's not good to get old. I think that as we move into this, as we called it, the chronologically blessed era of our life.
Yes.
As we move into that, that becomes a reality. If you go down to Orange County, just a little south of us here, there is a community that was put together and designed for the chronologically blessed of the world.
I love it.
And it's called Leisure World. And there's a big world, or it used to be a big world sitting there beside I-5 as you drive past, and it was turning, and it was Leisure World. Well, at Leisure World,
Sounds like a science
they have
fiction movie.
They have a hospital that is kind of in that community. They have medical offices. They have a shopping mall. They have restaurants and banks, and I mean basically all that you need. And they have this little system of the funniest looking little buses that you can ride around in. You don't even have to drive. They'll come by and pick you up. And the story goes that there was two couples, and they were standing at one of these little bus stops, and they were waiting for the bus to come. And of course, as happens when two couples get together like that, the two women went to one side and two men went to the other side. And the one man said to the other, he said, "You know, my wife and I, last week, we found the most wonderful new restaurant. And it's cheap. It doesn't cost much. It just opened. It's wonderful." And his companion standing there with him says, "Oh, this is exciting. I love new places to eat, and I love it when they don't charge you too much." And he said, "What's the name of it?" All of a sudden, the first gentleman, he looked and he got that distressed look on his face, and he goes, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. What's the name of that flower? That flower that we give to people on special occasions. It has thorns on it. And the guy says, "Oh, a rose." And the gentleman goes, "Yes, that's it. Rose. What was the name of that restaurant that we found last week?"
Okay.
And the funny part of that is that as we get older, some of the things that happen to us physically, mentally, even spiritually, and socially, they're somewhat distressing because it's change. It's a new environment for us to step into. It's something different. I know in my own particular situation, I led a very active life. I hiked up Mount Whitney numerous times, and I've just had a wonderful time. But all of a sudden, my body said, "Whoa, it's time for a new season," and I begin to get neuropathy in my legs, and I can't walk as well as I used to. We all have different experiences as we go through this change of seasons in our life. But as we get to that season to where physically, mentally, spiritually, and everything begins to take on different aspects, as we said last week, we need to intentionally plan on what our best way of living and our best choices that we can make so that we can not just be involved in the aging process that we're involved in, but that we can move into the saging process. And so rather than focusing on ourselves to where we're saying, "Oh, age is getting me down," we have the opportunity in this new environment that we find ourselves in to look into our lives and say, what is it that I have that I can give? What is it that I have that I can give physically, mentally, spiritually, socially? And as we move into this new season of our life, we have a special potential to be the sages of our community.
And expand on that. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the community itself, because the community, sometimes we think of the community of Bakersfield or Kern County or whatever. But I would suggest that it's more of the community of the Rotary clubs that we're in, or the churches that we're in, or the families that we're in. Or maybe I found that I'm getting up every morning and I go to a little restaurant now that I don't go to work every day. At my place of work, I go to a restaurant. I have built a community. It's almost like what was that TV show, Cheers? You walk in and everybody knows your name. And that's the way it is. So the community in which I live, how am I going to reach out and be the sage in that community? What am I going to intentionally do every day to reach out and be the sage and share the bits of wisdom, the bits of
Yes.
understanding, the
Yes.
bits of the goodness of God during this time of my life, when maybe not everything physically is wonderful for me, maybe not everything mentally is wonderful for me. There are times when all of a sudden I'll go, wait a minute, I'm going to have to think about that. What was the name of that flower again? You know, I mean, it's sometimes we don't have the same sharpness that we had before. However, within that, the problems of this time, we shouldn't focus on those. We should focus
Right.
on that which we do have.
Yes.
And so be very thankful, but also be very intentional to know what we can do to be the sages within the community that we have.
Excellent.
Tina, when we
Yeah.
come back, let's get him to talk about, is leisure the highest end of this aging process? Just kicking
Excellent.
back and taking it easy.
Yes.
And the old phrase, never miss a chance to shoot the breeze. I want to talk to you about that. So we'll be right back.